election day happens, ballots first come in, I'm in 4th place. So top 3 get in. And I'm like, okay, I guess I didn't do that bad. And as results kept coming in, I keep climbing up, I get into 1st place. And then the next day I wake up with over 200 messages. And it was mostly of like people trying to find out who I was, because I was completely not known, like in the sense of in the political world, right? So
we love the San Gabriel Valley. There are some amazing people and businesses here, and we think they deserve the spotlight. Welcome to the SGV Master Key Podcast. We'll have on the people that make the SGV great. We'll find out what makes them tick, their ups and downs, their history, and we're going to have fun doing it. This is the SGV Master Key Podcast. And now your hosts, Scott Warmoth and Russell Mano.
All right, SGVers, welcome back to another episode of the SGV Master Key Podcast. It's an honor for us to bring you the stories about the people that make up our great community here in the San Gabriel Valley. So if that's of interest to you, definitely subscribe, stay tuned. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. We're excited to bring you a new exciting guest here and to share their story of their journey here in the San Gabriel Valley with you. So we always talk about something relevant to our guest, Scott. And, you know, if you are a regular listener of the show, we have had multiple people in service, community service type roles. And if you follow the show, they know that you were involved in community service. And I think I learned that term from you. You know, like I think initially I would have just said politician, but you always refer to them as people serving their community.
Yeah, in fact, and I'll even mention, you know, John Chung, who is a good friend of mine and was our state treasurer for a number of years and ran for governor a few years back. But I learned it through him because he was one of the very first people I really saw where I felt this is not a politician. This is a public servant, you know, a true public servant, somebody who serves the public. Because you're right, you know, you see the term politician, you see politicians everywhere. I don't think it's a good term, but...
When I hear it, it evokes a certain feeling, right? Like maybe a little bit of divisiveness and, you know, it's not a good feeling. I don't feel like it's something beneficial or supportive of me when I hear that term.
No, it's political. But yes, a public servant is someone special.
Sure. Well, you know, you can find about public servants in San Gabriel Valley online, and you can find out other things about the San Gabriel Valley with San Gabriel Valley Now, your source for city news, announcements, events, special savings, and everything SGV. Check them out on Instagram, sgv.now, and read their SGV Now magazine on their website, sgvnow.com. Well, today's guest is one of the people that have connected with us through our Instagram. And it's interesting to see the people, how they find it. And it's interesting how that engagement is going to be. You know, this is a relatively new type of way of communicating, right? They sort of know a little about you first, and then you touch base. And so why don't I introduce our guest today? His name is Salvador Melendez. He's the former mayor and current council member for the City of Montebello. Salvador, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on.
I think I observed that you were watching our content or consuming our content, and then I reached out to you, and then that's how we got connected, right?
Yeah, that's right. I saw the content, I saw what you were all about, and I was like, I got to be part of it.
But I think you were connected to a guest of ours before, right? Barney Santos of Boulevard Market.
That's correct. Barney. Yeah, good friends with Barney, good friends with Nathan. I know you've had them both here, so they're great people. Yeah.
So the connection to the San Gabriel Valley now is pretty obvious. Like you are a public servant for the City of Montebello, but what other connections do you have to the San Gabriel Valley?
Yeah, so I first got elected to the council about 4 years ago. Just recently want my re-election. Things have changed a little bit. We went from at-large to district-based elections, but no, I mean, I've had other partnerships with other council members here. We used to be part of the San Gabriel, our Senate area and Assembly District was part of the San Gabriel Valley, so I got to come a lot to the San Gabriel Valley. And Montebello, and which is going to be an interesting question, is I consider ourselves part of the San Gabriel Valley. I know there's other folks that say we're part of the gateway cities, but I think we're in between.
I think Montebello is the San Gabriel Valley. I always considered Yeah. So
Absolutely, that's what I think. But based on that, and based on the relationships that I've been able to build with other elected officials, with other organizations, I'm typically always here in this area, and because a lot of the issues are not just based on Montebello, but they're regional issues, and sometimes it takes collaboration between different organizations, different stakeholders, different council members in order to push and put some issues together, right, and work for some stuff.
are you a native of Montebello?
Born and raised in Montebello. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I lived in Pasadena for a couple of years, in Whittier for 1 year, but I lived most of my life, went to all the schools in Montebello. So yeah.
Like Montebello High School?
Montebello High School, Euler. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's typically there's two big schools there, Montebello High School, Shore High School, but yeah, big Euler. There's still a big rivalry there. So yeah.
So talk about like your experience growing up in Montebello. What was that like? What are some of the things that maybe, relate to what you're doing now?
Yeah, no, I mean, growing up, Montebello's a working class neighborhood. My dad, had 3 jobs while we were growing up. We all lived, I have 2 siblings, right? So I have one older sister, one older brother. It was 5 of us, a little small apartment. My parents always invoked volunteer, public service. That's since I was 6 or 7, I started working at a church, Miraculous Metal, which is in Montebello. And, I knew we were struggling, but, we always had food on the plate. We always had food in our plates. And even though we had a little bit, we always we're always taught to just give back to the community and give back to people that might have had more in need, right? But yeah, I mean, I had a great childhood. I was involved in sports. I was involved in all different service clubs. So always being around the community and working together and working on projects was always something that I've always been a part of.
Miraculous Metal. I know exactly what that is. My Boy Scout troop and Cub Scouts and Webelos met there.
Oh.
It's like a brick building, right? The center is like a lot of brick, and there's a courtyard, and they would have some like fairs there.
That's right.
Games and stuff, and that's where we met.
Yeah.
And across the street is it JNS?
JNS, our famous burrito place. You had to have a breakfast burrito from there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't know about.
Yeah.
So for the listener who doesn't know Montebello, you described it as working class, but Montebello is primarily, or the large demographic there is Latino. Is that correct?
That's correct. So we have a predominantly large Latino population, but we also have a large Armenian population, and right now it's also an Asian American growing population. So some of the first Armenians that came over after the First World War, it was actually Montebello. So we have one of the largest populations of Armenians. In front of Miraculous Metal, we have the Armenian Genocide Monument, which is the largest outside of Armenia. So we have a very, very rich history of Armenians there. We had Italians. And right now, there's a growing Asian American population there.
Wow, I never heard that. I never heard that. Whereabouts?
Well, it's usually in the northern part of Montebello.
Oh, okay.
Northern part. And as a matter of fact, right now we're bringing in around 1,200 new homes into Montebello. And a lot of that, the market is going more towards the Asian American population. But yeah, I think we have around 11 or 12%.
So you described your childhood with your 2 siblings, your parents in a small apartment in Montebello, and they were sharing with you to volunteer and all that. And so what happens after high school for you?
Yeah, you know what? I'll be honest. I wasn't the best high school student. I didn't take high school seriously, so I didn't know what I wanted to do, right? So I ended up going to a community college, Rio Hondo College, and I went in there for some reason trying to be a theater major. I never took any theater classes. But I don't know. I wanted to go into film, do something like that. And I took a political science class, and I had a really good counselor. His name is Counselor Thomas. And I took a political science class. I found a passion for it. And I said, you know what? I think I want to major in political science, or I want to go something with international relations, and that one class just changed my whole trajectory. So I decided, I started taking school seriously. I went in all in. I wanted to make a difference. I got involved in different political clubs, different organizations, and I decided that, there were some things happening in Montebello that I didn't like. There was no progress, there was no change, and I wanted to give back. And I went to, after 2 years, I transferred over to Cal State LA. I got even more involved with different organizations, and then, you know, I helped in different campaigns, and I started getting more and more involved. And after that, I took a little break from politics, and I decided to go into law school. So I applied, got in, Verne, and in my first year, I decided to run for office, which is probably something I would never recommend to anybody, you know, with the first year of law school and running for office. But yeah, that's how I kind of started, you know, my whole trajectory into getting into elected office.
Did you finish law school?
I did, yes. Yeah.
Do you practice law?
I don't. So I never took the bar. I graduated last year, and I was one of probably those few exceptions that went in there without the idea of practicing law. My realm of study or my passion has always been policy. So even my current position right now, I work for a community health center. I'm in the government affairs, and I work on, I'm a senior policy analyst. So policy's always been where I kind of want to go. I finished a law degree and got it. And but it was very challenging for sure.
Growing up, did Montebello, as you were growing up in the city, was there a strong sense of city identity in Montebello?
You know what? I think we struggled. I think there wasn't, maybe in my childhood there was, but then little by little, I feel like we started to lose that. And we didn't really have, I guess, you know, city pride, and, you know, we just lost touch of that. I feel like, and I don't know how that happened.
There was no real central gathering point for the community.
Yeah, you know, we just didn't have that, you know, and that's why it's been one of my priorities in elected office to kind of get that back, right? So, like bringing the fireworks show, bringing farmers markets, right, you know, partnering up with like Boulevard Market, Angry Horse. So now, like, I mean, kudos to Barney, kudos to Nathan. They've been able to build organically like a community. I mean, it's like kind of like the little hub that we're creating in Montebello, where people go hang out, have ice cream, have a drink. That's
what it sounded like to me after having shows with them.
Yeah.
That this was becoming the sort of the center of Montebello.
For sure. And, you know, even when we do like our farmers market, we have it right there. So it can create this synergy between, you know, the business owners and the community. When we have our big street fest, you know, we have it there. You know, that's where we kind of want to build our downtown. So no, it's been great. And Barney, for example, he lives like 2 blocks away from where he has Boulevard Market. He literally walks to Boulevard Market, and he's part of the community. Nathan, he doesn't live in Montebello, but he's always there. I think he probably spends more time than the residents actually live there, you know? So organically it's becoming a little hub of our little downtown Montebello.
And I think you need that kind of community center to keep a community safe, to keep it, you know, healthy.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, and it's something like, you know, we look at what, you know, other cities in the San Gabriel Valley are doing, right? Like we want to have Alhambra, you know, Main Street. We want to have Monterey Park, you know, create that on Garfield, create that synergy. And we see, you know, other little downtowns. I know we want to be realistic. We can't have a downtown like the city of LA, you know, but we could have little areas where we can take pride and we can help. There could be some, you know, there could just be natural synergy in a place where our community can go. So
yeah, look at the feel of Sierra Madre or Monrovia as well. You know, what's the population of Montebello?
Yeah, we're in the 66,000,
which is probably a bit bigger than a city like Sierra Madre, or I don't know the populations, but the thing about Montebello in my mind has always been, you know, more Whittier Boulevard, right? Which is not a gathering point, but it's more a transportation.
And you're going exactly. So Whittier Boulevard is kind of known. I mean, it's technically kind of like a highway. Well, it's a highway, but it was used back in the day for cruising, which is coming back. You know, we're having a little bit of issues
legally.
but I mean, it was something, you know, back in the day there was cruising going along. When the pandemic started, we start to notice more of the cruising going on. So right now is really active. So we're trying to work with, and they they work with us, and sometimes it's a little bit too many people in one spot, but we try to work with the organizers and with the card clubs, and but that scene is coming back to Montebello, and it goes through Whittier Boulevard.
Yeah.
Now that I think of it, I spent a lot of time in Montebello when I was young.
Yeah.
At Miraculous
Cub
Meadow.
Scouts and
Well, not only that, every Saturday I would bowl at Beverly Bowl. Quiet Canyon was where my Boy Scout troop met. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Montebello.
Did you realize that was Montebello, or did you think, well, that's just Monterey Park?
I think I knew it was Montebello. I think I knew because I had friends who went to Schur High School, and yeah, I think so. But when I speak of people from Montebello and about Montebello, well, I was around when the mall first came around, and that was a huge thing, right? A huge thing. But I remember you said something that nothing had ever changed, and so after the mall, like the initial boom of that came about, and it sort of died down, and then everything was sort of the same, just like stuck in time. You're right. There was no change.
Yeah. And, and that's I think that's the balance that we're always trying to figure out, right? When I first got elected, one of the first things that a resident told me was change is not always progress. So there are folks that want the city to continue to be the way it used to be, right? And that's not a bad thing, right? I think there needs to be a balance, and we got a wave of young electeds in Montebello, and a lot of us have the energy to, we're bringing in a Top Golf by the golf course.
Oh.
So all that's going to be changing. And,
wow.
We actually have a groundbreaking ceremony in a couple of weeks, actually next week. So the mall got sold. So there's going to be some changes there, and we're bringing in 1,200 new homes. We're putting together downtown Montebello. The metro's going to pass through Montebello. So we're bringing in a lot of new stuff, but at the same time, we're trying to figure out how we can continue with our identity in Montebello, and that's always the challenge, right? How do you bring these new things to your constituents, but at the same time don't change it too much that it's that you lose the identity, and that's always the challenge. So like the things you mentioned, yeah, absolutely, it's very traditional, like the Eagle Scout room. Actually, in the last council meeting, there was a bunch of Leos. I'm a Lions member myself. Bunch of Leos showed up, because we might have to relocate that site, and that's been a traditional site that's been in the golf course for a very long time. But because of the new project, there have to be some changes. So it's always trying to keep that balance, right?
Yeah, have you ever been to the Beverly? Is the bowling alley still there?
Yeah, so it's Bolero now.
In my mind, I just picture the bowling alley with a huge parking lot,
right.
enormous parking lot. I mean, right? Like
that's right.
It was 5 times maybe the size of the actual building.
Yeah. No, it's still like that. So.
But I remember going there with my mom. So my mom used to bowl there in the evenings and the weekday, and it was packed. Like it was always packed. And that for me was like a hub of Montebello. But then when I would come over where the Costco used to be, I would come over. I forget what that is, down the hill, and I would recognize that nothing had changed there. It looked just like it did in the 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
Is a shopping center, do you think, good or bad for the community? Now, I know it can be both, and I know you wouldn't want to criticize it, but what are the issues with something like a shopping mall versus a downtown development type of thing?
Well, I think with the mall, I mean, the anchor stores are one of the highest performing, right, in the region. I think the issue that not just the mall in Montebello is having, but a lot of malls throughout, is that a lot of things, a lot of sales have gone digital, right? And then you have the Amazons of the world, and they had to adapt to it, right? Because now the consumer can just use a laptop, and they don't have to go into different stores and purchasing. So they have to adapt to it. So I believe what they're trying to do is make it an entertainment first, shop second experience, right? And that's just, and then, like most cities in San Gabriel Valley, we have these what are called arena numbers that we have to meet in housing. So even the new concept of the mall is going to be, again, experience first, shopping second, and then build housing around it. And that's just because those are state policies that are coming down to local governments. And we have these numbers. I mean, in Montebello, we have to create around more than 4,000 or 5,000 units within the next 6-7 years, right?
Is it possible that some of that dead space in a mall could become residential?
Absolutely. And I
think
mean, that's
real mixed use, you know.
Yeah, I think most of the building, even there's a building that's right in front of Boulevard Market where it's called the Cesar Chavez Foundation Project. It's going to be mixed use. And most projects now that you see are going to be mixed use. So it's going to be, retail in the bottom, residential on top. And that's just the way it goes. And there's not that much open space anymore. So it's all about building density. So you're going to start seeing most of our cities around us. It's going to be 3-4 stories of housing. And that's just the new reality.
I was just in Vancouver over the weekend, and boy, I don't know if you've ever been there, but I guess the residential mixed with business, it's all high rises in Vancouver, everywhere, and it's just a great feel. It's a New York type of feel, or even some Asian cities have that feel where, you live where you work,
right?
And that density, so urban density can be very positively created.
Yeah, and that's like, as a matter of fact, we're going through our general plan, right, for the city of Montebello, and the general plan is pretty much, it's kind of like what you want the vision of your city to look like for the next 10 or 15, 20 years, right? So it's literally a roadmap, and you put in different areas of the city where you want to see certain things. That's important because of what you just stated. How do you build, all this density and planning that creates a natural synergy, right? And again, going back to Angry Horse and Boulevard Market, like if that's going to be our downtown, how do we capitalize on some empty lots to build, 3 or 4 buildings, 3 or 4 stories, then they can, now go and shop in those places or go and grab a drink and all that. So we're trying to create that natural synergy around it, right? So and that goes with the shops in Montebello, that goes with Top Golf, that goes with all these different places. How can we create that natural synergy? Yeah.
When I think of cities who have revitalized their downtown or Main Street, Alhambra comes to mind, Pasadena for sure, and they're just destinations to. You don't go there for one particular thing on a Friday night. You're like, okay, let's go hang out there and experience, all that there is. And it really changes the whole community. I see that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, yeah, you mentioned both cities. Alhambra did a great job. I think it took them, maybe it was a decade or I don't know how much it took them to actually build Main Street, but they put a good plan together, and it's a success. I mean, Old Town Pasadena, you can literally go there and, great restaurants, place to drink, places I feel like there's a little bit of something for everyone. And I think that's kind of what we want to do, and look, as an elected in Montebello, sometimes we don't have all the solutions, and sometimes we have to see what other cities are doing and kind of get some of that and put it in your own little community, and hopefully it works.
I don't know if you saw a more recent reel on our Instagram, but Vasil, who has a practice in Montebello, he mentioned Boulevard Market, and he said that he was really impressed in what it meant to the community. And he's a resident of Montebello, and that's when I experienced him saying it here, and then I watched it again. It's quite meaningful, right? Like it like people are experiencing it in this way. So that's at least a good starting point, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, he's another great person. I think he's he's in the mental health field, right? I think
Yes.
And he people like that. So we're getting in Montebello right now. It's going through an interesting process. We're getting a lot of young professionals coming into our community, and it's projects, because Boulevard Market wasn't just a standalone project. So that came in with some townhomes right in the back of Boulevard Market. So it was a project that was one of our first public-private partnership that we did there. So that project, the people that bought those condos was specifically for, we sold them on the idea that we're building a downtown, right? So you start getting a lot of these young professionals that they want to live in the downtown. They want to live, and they felt it was a good investment, and they want options, right? That's something that every time we talk to our residents, they want options. They want different things. They want healthier options. They want, they want different things to do, right? And for the longest, Montebello, I mean, Ari's is a great place to go eat. If you want to get a bacon avocado cheeseburger, but a lot of these places are not the healthiest, right? So for us is how do we get with the times of maybe providing healthier options? And we have a lot of, those fast food places and stuff like that, which are great. I would highly recommend Ari's. I'll plug them in there. But
yeah, please don't remove them. I had a baked avocado cheeseburger last night, and I needed it.
Yeah. Yeah, so Golden Ox, get the chili cheese fries.
Yeah, right.
We have a bunch of taco spots, Sergio's, and it's great to have those, but we need a little bit healthier options as well for for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think of Montebello like the restaurant options there in a healthy way. Some of the residential projects that married the shopping experience with residential is like Paseo and the Grove, and I don't know what it's called in Glendale, Americana. Yeah, that's.
Are those still being considered as like options, or was that a certain time period where those were being built?
Well, look, I think there's an opportunity in Montebello specifically. There's, I would say, 3 areas that are going to go through a completely big transformation. One is right before the mall, where you're going to put 1,200 new homes. The Costco building, we're going to do something there. The old Costco building, because they moved across the street. Second, you have where the Top Golf is going to be, where it's going to be inside of the golf course. So we're going to have the only Top Golf in the area that's going to be inside of a golf course. That whole area around it is going to go through transformation. We have had developers come to us to see about building some type of like mini Americana, and then third, where Barney and Nathan are at, Boulevard Market and Angry Horse, all that whole area is going to change. The city of Montebello got broken down into 5 different districts. So I represent where Nathan and Barney are at, and that's going to be our downtown. So my vision is that in the next 4 years, we're going to create that. That's going to be our downtown, and that we're gonna, the city of Montebello was able to acquire some property during the pandemic, and we're building it, right? But those 3 areas are probably the areas that there is opportunity for something like that. Probably more towards the golf course area, but. Yeah, no, I mean, there's still an opportunity there. And that's where we need to see our general plan to see where we want to plug, where it belongs.
That sounds like a real modernization and would attract younger people to the city. And I remember you saying something about the identity and keeping, what are the older residents or the people who want to maintain this thing about Montebello say about that? And what is that? Like, what is the identity of Montebello?
Yeah, it's, so about maybe 15, 20 years ago, I think probably more, Montebello started building a lot of like senior living homes, right? So Montebello has been known to be a big senior community. I think we have around maybe 6 different senior communities throughout the whole city. So there's been an effort to kind of build stuff around that, build, stores, build retail. And we've gotten some pushback from some of the community members, right? Even Boulevard Market, it wasn't an idea that many community members, they were sold on. Angry Horse too, it was the first brewery that was going to come into the city, and people just didn't, they didn't want it, right? So it's close to a residential area. So these 2 projects have been a catalyst in the area because it's shown that it can work in Montebello. So I think the thing that we need to continue to demonstrate to communities that these projects can work, and these projects can also help bring other things, other businesses, other ideas into that region. So I think, for the matter of fact, I think we just have a community that in the past it was just reluctant to any type of change. There's some community members that would fight against the metro line coming in, and even there, we're finally getting it passed, but there's still such a pushback for the Metro Gold Line to pass through Montebello. Our meetings have been, there's a lot of people that come in. They're trying to fight it. They think that we're dividing the community even more. I'm a proponent for it because I feel that we need more transportation, avenues and stuff like that. And there's opportunity, what are called opportunity zones, where you could get some money to kind of build around the metro and stuff like that. But we just have a community that's just been just reluctant to change, right? And we're trying to bring it little by little. But what I've noticed in local governments, it takes a long time. You come in with this energy of like, all right, let's change things, and something that you feel can take a year, it could take like 5 or 6 years. So But I think more than that, I think that's where the community's just a little bit of sometimes they don't want things to happen too fast.
I remember Terry Tornick, he's the former mayor of Pasadena. He was saying in his show that cities that they're living organisms, and that you can't just stick them in amber. Those were his words, right? But then he also mentioned about like the reluctance to change and all of that. And it's hard to determine where like preserving meaningful things, crosses over into just, I don't want to change anything. I remember that from his talk. I want to get into your item of significance, but I was wondering if you can answer this. Like the Oilers thing, as you go over the hill, there's oil rigs they're pumping. Is that still going? And does the city get revenue from oil?
Yeah, so we still get revenue. Those oil wells are not active anymore.
Oh,
there's a certain portion of them that they are, but they're not in the housing property or where the housing development's going to happen. But most of the oil wells in Montebello they're not active anymore.
Okay, but there was like active oil wells there.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's where the Oilers came from. Literally, we had them throughout the whole city.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, throughout the whole city, and I mean, there was a time that's what Montebello was known for sure. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, Salvador, we ask each guest to bring an item of significance with them. What did you bring with you today?
Yeah, so I brought this was given to me by a friend when I first announced that I was gonna.
Can you show it there?
Yes. When I first announced that I was gonna run, right? I was still my first year of law school, running into it, and a story that goes behind this is that when I first started communicating to people that I was gonna run, I was told by many, it's not your turn, don't do it, you're too young, finish law school. And there's some writing there. And it says, somebody wrote, it says, yes, I'm young, yes, I'm progressive, and it is my time. And these are words that always stick with me. I always put it in it's in my desk. And I always think of it, I always look at it. And it's a clock. I don't know how else to describe it, but
yeah, for the listening audience, it looks like commemorative piece, or it's decorative, but definitely like a clock. And it looks like a globe map of the earth in the center of it.
And it means so much to me because even when I first got elected, you still have that kind of like that imposter syndrome. Kind of like, do I really belong here? I always tell people when I first ran, I was out fundraised. There was bigger names there. My whole goal at the end of the election was to not come into last place. I was like, you know what? I put in way too much work. I don't want to come in last place. I just, there was 10 candidates. I was like, put me 6th or 7th. I'm okay with that. And then I ended up winning first place. And so, going into the first couple of years, it was difficult navigating a lot of, strong personalities. I quickly learned that you're not going to please everyone. And you have to stick with your gut feeling of what you think you're doing is the best for the community. So that always sticks with me because you're always going to get these challenges, and you just have to, understand that people elected you, people chose you, and you're there to represent the community. And at the end of the day, you make the decisions that are best for the community. So it means a lot to me every time I wake up when there's a tough issue, a tough situation, because issues will never go away. It's just how you handle them and how you move forward, but always have the best interests of the community.
Yeah. I'm learning to take that approach in my home with my family and my kids, mostly about like that the problems are never going to end, and well, I say problems, but let's say like chores or whatever, like these are things that need to get done, but it's just never going to end. It's just never going to end. And I had to just accept that, right? When I have kids in the home, it's never going to end, but.
No, that's right. And I think that's, that's an approach for everything in life, right? It's just problems and chores and, whatever, they're still going to be there. There's always new things that are going to come up. So I think it's just your approach in life, right?
Sure.
How you handle it.
Well, I want to get into what it's been like since you were first elected, but let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
At Warmouth Law, they believe that just because you speak a foreign language, come from a different culture, or simply don't know how to navigate the legal system, that should not prevent you from compensation from injury or receiving benefits. Their multicultural staff have been helping SGVers like you for over 38 years. Visit law888.com or call them at 626-784-7017 and tell them you heard about them on this podcast.
All right, we're back with council member Salvador. Salvador, before the break, I mentioned that we want to get into, what it's been like in your journey, your career, since you first got elected. But we're going to go on to a segment first where we ask questions from this card game. It's called Like You. And they're, I always said that they're lighthearted and not so penetrating, but as I've been going through them, some of them are. So I've been filtering those out. You can choose to answer one question, two questions, or no questions. So no pressure. So here we go. Did you have acne as a teenager? Or what is your favorite smell?
Okay, the first one, I didn't. And I think the reason why is, so my favorite drink, I kid you not, it's water.
Oh, okay.
So I think I drink a lot of water. So maybe that had something to do with it. But yeah,
Awesome.
like anywhere I go, like I just drink water. So maybe that works.
Yeah, I didn't have an acne problem. Yeah.
Okay.
And what was the second question?
What is your favorite smell?
Oh, favorite smell. I can, boy, that's a hard one because, I think cinnamon. But then, there's some of these nice, floral scents that you smell now. Yeah, I couldn't identify one.
Well, no one would ever guess what my favorite smell is, but I know for sure what that is. Did I have acne as a teenager? No. The olfactory sense is strongest tied to memory, right? It's the strongest tied to memory. So you can experience a smell and it'll immediately bring you back, right? So my favorite smell is the initial light up of a Marlboro Light cigarette.
Your father?
Yeah. Which is distinctly different from when they're smoking. There's a different smell. Mm-hmm. So to me, that meant now my father's here. Now I'm with my father. Now I'm doing all these things with my father. Like immediately, like if I'm around someone and I smell that, I'm immediately taken there. Yeah. Weird, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
not necessarily weird because I have sort of a similar liking of a cigarette being lit up. I never thought about it before. But you've kind of identified that. And again, my father, yeah.
And having smoked before, I know that there's different smells and whatever, so it's distinctly like that was his brand, and there's a different smell when it first lights up. And so whenever, like, and maybe I'm around someone, I think I don't see many people smoking these days, but whenever someone is around, I'm like, oh, wow, immediately taken there. So anyway, so that was a little tangent there, but it's designed to sort of get to know a little bit more about you and a little bit more about us. So Salvador, you didn't expect, or you just didn't want to come into last place, and you ended up winning. And what's the journey been like since then?
Yeah, I think again, election day happens. I when the ballots first come in, I'm in 4th place. So top 3 get in, and I'm like, okay, I guess I didn't do that bad. And as the results kept coming in, I keep climbing up. I get into 1st place, and then the next day I wake up with over 200 messages, and it was mostly of like people trying to find out who I was, because I was completely not known, like in the sense of in the political world, right? So it was a bit challenging just navigating, through all the different, there was a lot of folks, right? There was a lot of different interest groups and, community members wanting different things, different stakeholders, and at the end of the day, everybody's trying to have your ear on certain issues, and it's a matter of how you put all that together and make the best decision, right? So it was a bit challenging in the beginning, and we had some tough issues. And I just I found people like our city manager, Rene Bobadilla, awesome guy, one of the greats, probably one of the best city managers in the area, was able to help out a lot. So the first year was challenging. The second year, I become the mayor, and 2 months into it, the pandemic hits. So there was no book on how to deal with a global pandemic or what to do with it. So we were all just trying to figure it out. And that literally happened 2 months into it. It was also a difficult time with law school too, adjusting to it. We went completely remote. So there was a lot of different things that I was handling, work. There was a lot of different issues. And I think I had to reassure the community that everything was okay, because you're the kind of like the lead in the city, and making the community members feel that things are okay. Business owners, there was a lot of business owners that were hurt by it. Some never recovered. And, those stories were probably the most difficult, of people telling me like, hey, you know what, another month that we have to, keep the doors closed. Like, I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm not going to survive. So literally people working 10, 15 years to build what they had, and literally within months gone, right? So that for me was probably one of the most difficult and challenging moments. Yeah, but you know what? That's there was a lot of conversations and work with our staff, and we were able to help out a lot of businesses. So even with a lot of difficult situations and bad things, we were able to help out and try to make the best out of it, try to advocate for more funding, more money, more testing, more vaccines to our county partners and state partners. And so there was a lot of challenges, but again, it was a tough, definitely a tough moment. But like I always tell everybody, and what I told the fall, because in Montebello we have a rotational mayorship. So typically every year the mayor gets chosen by the council. And so what I told the next mayor is like, you know what? Yeah, the pandemic's done here. There's going to be a new issue that's going to come up. So you just have to, learn how to navigate through it, rely on staff, rely on your best judgment, and just continue to move forward.
What prompted you to run?
I felt that there was things just going back to, I felt like the community was just very stagnant, right? There was no changes, nothing happening in the city. I had, a joke that I would always get thrown in Montebello is that it seems like, we got stuck in time, right? Like just everybody's moving, everybody's progressing. There's Pico Rivera's, changing. There's new businesses that are bringing in. Everybody's moving forward, but Montebello's just in the same spot. So for me, I feel like we missed a lot of key opportunities. And at the end of the day, it's my vision was never to run for office. I talked to a few residents. They encouraged me, and sometimes you just have to do it. And that's how I ended up in council. Yeah.
Stuck in time, huh?
Yeah. And that's the thing too, right? I mean, it's, again, I think we're going through, and it's not just Montebello, it's a lot of cities in the San Gabriel Valley where we're going through a time right now where we have to get innovative. We want to bring in new things. We want to bring in new industries. We want to bring change, but at the same time, we want to preserve our identity. And again, it's something that almost every council member, every public servant is going to have to face and is facing right now when you have mandates coming from state, county, and your city's going to change. Like there's no ifs or buts. I mean, it's going to change just because of the demand of housing, for example, right? Or to address homelessness, or, so you have to just figure out a way that, there's new things that come in and that you work for it, but at the same time, how do you preserve your identity? And that's a challenge. That's literally where it's at.
Yeah. Just thinking of all these memories of Montebello, I don't know what you call the portion of Montebello where you enter from Monterey Park and you go, over a hill, maybe by Sure over there. I seem to remember there was a large population of Japanese there. And I would go through this certain area, and some of my Japanese friends actually still live there. And you would just drive around, and you could tell which house had like a Japanese gardener. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
There's the whole area there, and I'm like, okay, that's Japanese gardener. There's Japanese gardener, but yeah, and it's sort of Montebello. I think of in these different pockets. Yeah, certainly.
Would that be where San Gabriel curves
No,
around?
not so much. Actually, I'm scared of that area.
Really?
Well, I mean, I'm saying that I don't go there.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's Montebello, but there's a area that's, maybe it's more like
I don't
South San Gabriel.
Yeah, I was going to say South San Gabriel.
Yeah, South San Gabriel.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about there?
Yeah.
There's a hotel on the corner. Maybe it's Potrero and
that area.
San Gabriel. Yeah.
Yeah, no, to your point, no, I think you're absolutely right. And still, there's still areas, like I said, there's areas where we still have some Italian families and they kind of live in the same area. Armenian families that live in the same area, and same thing with Japanese families and all that. So, no, I think, Montebello is very, very, very rich, diverse community. It has a lot of history. Like there's some people there that, I mean, it's, and then, even when I was campaigning for my last election, I ran into like some, we still have some Native Americans there too. And they were educating me on the whole, like, Montebello, like, history that, to be honest, I didn't even know. And I actually reached out to her a couple of weeks ago because I just wanted to grab coffee with her because I love history and I just want to pick her brain and, get to know a little bit more. But no, it's a very, very rich history of just full of diversity. Yeah.
Are they Tongva or Gabrielino?
Tongva, yeah.
Tongva.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And there's been, and I think you've all know, there's been a movement, even, every time there's like a speech or there's some type of city or community event, not in Montebello, but just around the whole San Gabriel Valley, usually they get acknowledged, right, that this was a Tongva territory or land, and they'll have a representative there and stuff like that.
I don't know if you know, my wife is Canadian, and now I can hear whenever there's some sort of government thing happening, they always acknowledge, they say this is whatever land, whatever First Nation land. They always say that to start so many things. Any sort of official government thing, they always started it with that. I don't know if they bring the people there, but yeah.
Yeah, and that, to me, I mean, I've been in office maybe going on 5 years now. In the last like 2 or 3 years, that almost every event there's that acknowledgement.
Wow, that must feel good to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good thing, and they covered a large portion of the San Gabriel Valley.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, there is so much to know and learn about the San Gabriel Valley. We're going to move on, Salvador, to learn about the things that you really like about the San Gabriel Valley.
Yeah, Salvador. So let's talk about the SGV 3 that you have in mind. 3 places that are memorable, important to you.
Yeah, at first I was just going to name Montebello. I was going to stick to Montebello.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay. That's your,
No, I mean, I kind of wanted to combine some of the new places and some of the places I've been there. And I know I have a really good friend. She used to be my former boss, Olivia. And she took me all around, San Gabriel Valley, trying different foods and bringing different foods to us at work. But as far as foods, I mean, one of my favorite places in the San Gabriel Valley, and I know everybody knows about it, Mama Lou's. I think it's I think one of the best dumpling places.
Oh, Mama Lou's dumpling house. I think that's
dumpling house.
Have you been, Scott?
Where is it?
I think there's a few locations.
Yeah, the one I've gone to, I know it's in Monterey Park. It's the one, forget the cross street.
Is it Garvey and Garfield?
I think it's Garvey and Garfield. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a new spot. I know I'm going to be mentioning foods places because that's
Wait, what do you like to get there? And so was this lady who introduced you, is she Chinese?
She's Taiwanese.
Taiwanese, okay.
Taiwanese. So she was my former boss. So she would literally get food and just like, we would, I mean, it was way too much, but, I enjoyed it. And she would, get different options and, like pork dumplings and stuff like that. Honestly, anything that's from there, I would eat. And so she would spoil us. And there's a new spot too. It's I think it's called Skate Pizza, or it's in Alhambra.
Skate pizza.
Or pizza skate or something like that. It's shaped like a skateboard, the pizza. It's really good. It's great. It's in Alhambra. Yeah, and just to name a few spots, Montebello, I'm going to combine Boulevard Market and Angry Horse. I'm always, I can go and get my beer there and then go and try some pupusas at Boulevard Market. But those are some of the one of my, favorite spots in the whole San Gabriel Valley. And just overall too, I enjoy, you had mentioned Monrovia at the downtown. I think that's a nice vibe, nice energy in there for sure.
Yeah.
So,
we really have to go to Boulevard Market, right? Like, because there's so many.
Right. Actually, that could be one of our extended.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I have never been there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you.
I have not been there.
Yeah.
Well, Brenda Villa. Do you know Brenda Villa?
Yeah.
So she's going to be on in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. She's the Olympian. She's the water polo Olympian. I don't know if you know Carlos Aguilar. No. He's at Boulevard Market.
Okay.
He actually introduced us to Brenda. So Barney Santos, obviously, Nathan, now you. So how cool would that be?
No, that'd be great. We need to have like a whole food section.
Yeah.
We'll sit down and just try all the different foods.
Yeah, we should invite each of those persons in.
We could.
Yeah.
I mean, we try to stay away from, as exciting as it is about food, because to stay true to our mission to document the history of the people here. Yeah, but it's hard not to want to show some food. Yeah, but we can
look at that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Salvador, I really appreciate you. First of all, I don't know if I reached out to you. I think that I reached out to you on Instagram, and so I appreciate that you responded, because it's just a cold reach out. So I appreciate that you did that, and thank you so much for coming on the show. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, no, thank you for having me here, and I appreciate the conversation and letting you guys know a little bit more about Montebello and about myself. But Instagram, Salvador Melendez _Montebello. That's my Instagram, Facebook, and you can also find me on the City of Montebello website. I have all my information and my contact information there.
Oh, and really quick, you're pretty active on social media, or Instagram at least. Are you not?
Yeah. I try to be as active as I can. I think it's a different another avenue for residents to get a hold of you or business owners, I think, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I try to be as active as I can, post new events that are coming up, different things, and, just try to engage as much as I can.
Wonderful. Well, Salvador, thank you again for coming on the show. I enjoyed the conversation too. I enjoyed this, flashback to going to Montebello and spending time there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, there you go. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. I hope you enjoyed that. If you know Montebello, or if you didn't, now hopefully you've learned a little bit more. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you like this kind of content. And you can always find our full back catalog on our website, sgvmasterkey.com. And until next week, we'll see you then.
You've been listening to the SGV Master Key Podcast. Our passion is the small businesses and the people that make up the San Gabriel Valley, and it's our honor to have them on the show. We hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure to like, rate, and review. The show is produced by Russell Mano, edited by Victoria Allers of Kind Monster Productions. Thanks for listening, and see you next time on the SGV Master Key Podcast.
Master, no, kind of master.